The dead trees in one of the windows moved, rustling in an unheard wind. The White Manor was beautiful, and the last thing I wanted was for Jack to think I might be impressed. "We're not ready for that, either." He slowed his pace, walking beside me. "I wanted to get to know you a little better first. Ensure we're a good fit. This is the Hall of Memories, by the way." I grudgingly glanced up at one of the stained glass scenes above my head. It showed an idyllic little winter landscape, pine trees surrounding a log cabin. But there was nothing cozy about the scene. There were no warm lights in the cabin windows, no smoke rising from the chimney. The cabin looked abandoned, door cracked open, frost creeping in to cover the walls. "How nice for it," I muttered. So maybe I was being a little petulant. There were worse things to be after you'd had a debt called in and been yanked through a snowstorm with a guy who couldn't be nice to you without calling it a favor. The Hall of Memories came to an end with another set of iced-over doors. The ice cracked under Jack's touch, raining to the floor and melting into ether. "This is where I live, and where we'll be meeting, if we can tolerate each other enough to have you fulfill the debt owed," he informed me. "The rest of this is just for show now, since there's not enough of my kind to fill the entire manor, but the staff and I live in this portion." He pulled the door open. It occurred to me that the ice was actually a lock, and nobody but Jack would have been able to shatter it like that. Then what he said actually hit me. Not enough of his kind? I stepped through the door and glanced at him sidelong as he placed his hand on the door, growing a fresh layer of ice over it. It was a brief moment of unguardedness. His white hair fell forward over his shoulders, almost hiding his face, but for once he wasn't looking at everything with cool amusement. There was a faint line between his eyebrows, his lips turned down at the corners. It occurred to me that Jack was lonely. Was that window, that memory of an empty, abandoned cabin, his memory? I shoved the thought away as soon as it started circling in my head. Maybe, just maybe, if he wanted friends, he could be less of a jerk. I turned my attention to the living quarters of the White Manor instead. There was plush, midnight blue carpeting underfoot, and the high white walls were covered with tapestries that warmed the place up. Chandeliers made of shards of ice hung from the ceiling, casting a clear, pale glow over everything. He led me to the far end, where a desk made of pale oak sat next to a wide window overlooking the Court of Frost. Unlike Robin's messy office, with pictures tacked to the walls and mismatching, overstuffed velvet chairs scattered everywhere, Jack's desk was almost completely empty. There was a neat pile of manila folders resting on top, alongside a large glass paperweight with a coil of blonde hair swirling through its center. I frowned at the paperweight, then Jack gestured, and a breath of cold wind blew through the room. When the snowflakes scattered, there was a chair waiting for me, a comfortable wingback made of ivory toile. I sank into it as Jack circled the desk. "Would you like anything to drink?" he asked politely, sitting down across from me. "Thistletop will get you anything you need." I was about to ask who in the trees Thistletop was when a paw lightly touched my knee. The little brownie had come in on silent feet. He was covered with short, silky white fur, mottled with darker gray patches, and his floppy ears had several silver rings lining them. A puff of wild white hair protruded from the crown of his head. I was about to refuse, but Thistletop had deep brown eyes above his snubbed snout, and he looked like his heart would break if I told him no. I'd like a hot cocoa, please?" I wasn't cold at all in the White Manor, but since the view through the window showed nothing but